Good evening. It's attractively restrained applause there. I want you to know this is being filmed for a TV programme, and I've been telling them how much you all adored me, and your response... Some of you may already know this, but I have recently been given an honorary doctorate by Anglia Polytechnic University in Cambridge, which means I can legally call myself doctor now, so if any of you... It's important, this. So, I am a doctor, so if any of you get overexcited or frightened during the next couple of hours, I can loosen your clothing in a responsible manner, and you have nothing to fear, OK? A bit of applause now, if you would, for Orbital.
He's as important as he's ever been now, I think. It's a nice thing to believe that if you stick to your guns and just play what you want and don't have a playlist and stuff like that, that you can still kind of keep going.
He's got a unique perspective on music. I mean, I can't think of anybody else who's been involved in so many different types and kinds of music. I mean, everybody knows who John Peel is, but it's a remarkable thing to think that it still exists and he's still doing the same things that he's doing.
The people who worried in the 1980s about playing Billy Bragg records on Radio 1, you know, when you could play a Billy Bragg record and Norman Tebbit would ring up and complain. Those people who worried about their careers, they ain't there anymore. They ain't even in radio anymore. But Peel, who didn't worry about his career and just played it because he believed in it, he's still there.
There have often been people in very important positions in the BBC who wanted him out because it just wasn't right. You know, there were always people there who... I used to say, and they hated it, but I'd say occasionally at meetings, look, you don't seem to realise Peel is probably going to be the only important thing that's ever happened in Radio 1 when we look over the century and over the history of the BBC. Peel is what's important about this and that. Like, really? Peel?
Well, that's part of the process. I can't put a programme together without listening to music. I can turn it down a bit. What happens is that I'm preparing a programme to be broadcast on Radio Mafia in Helsinki. It's an hour a fortnight. And I've got next week's Radio 1. It's all very organised, this, but it has to be, really. This is like Tuesday night's programme for Radio 1. So what I do is kind of pick stuff from this to play on Radio Mafia, and then also from Wednesday nights, which is on the next page, and Thursday, which is there. And so I do Radio Mafia, and then also a programme that I do for Radio Brandenburg in what was East Germany politically, still is, obviously, geographically. So I cannibalise one programme in order to build another one. I do try, actually, which is quite mad, but I do assume that there might be one luckless person who lives in exactly the part of Europe where he'd be able to hear all of these programmes, and so that he doesn't get too much duplication, I do try and make the programmes different. Quite mad. There's no point in doing that at all, because quite clearly they don't compare and contrast, but nevertheless I feel in my head that they might do, you know, so that's what I'm doing. Obviously, this is just me making lists. As a spectator sport, leaves a lot to be desired. what I'm doing with these is that every record I listen to, in a rather obsessive and demented way, I time everything. I never believe the timings that are printed on the sleeves and stuff. And I just mark with the asterisks those tracks that I want to play on the radio. 1 asterisk means might play, 2 asterisks means should play, 3 asterisks means must play. I try to restrict myself to 3 asterisks, but if I get very enthusiastic, I put 4 or even more. The Undertones Teenage Kicks got something like 28 asterisks, but that was just a fit of madness.
So hard to beat. Every time she walks down the street, another girl in the neighborhood. When she was mad, she looked so good. I wanna hold her tight. Get teenage kicks right through the night. I'm gonna call her on the telephone, have her over 'cause I'm all alone. I need excitement, oh I need it bad, and it's the best I've ever had. I wanna hold her tight, get teenage kicks right through the night.
For the very latest information about the Beatles, Animals, Yardbirds, Rolling Stones, and all of the other famous English groups, in addition to exclusive recordings by these groups and lesser-known but magnificent performers such as the Hollies, the Mighty Avengers, Spencer Davis Group, Snotty and the Nosepickers, and the Boys Blue, listen for me, John Ravencroft, when I have the honour of joining Bobby Davis and Kay nightly on KOMA, the only station with its finger firmly on the pulse of the English scene.
When I first started working full-time on the radio in the United States in Oklahoma City at radio station KOMA, I was known as John Ravencroft, when in fact my real name is John Ravenscroft with an S in the middle of it, but the Americans apparently believed that Ravenscroft was just too much for any one person to remember. Perhaps a whole community might get together and remember it collectively, but they couldn't remember it as individuals.
So please stay tuned to KOMA, Bobby Davis and myself, John Ravencroft.
I used to listen to AFM and Radio Luxembourg when I was a kid and thought that was the sort of thing I'd like to do, playing records that I liked for people that I didn't have to look in the face because I was very shy as a kid. And I went to America in 1960 to try and get into it. I wrote to Pete Murray, actually, in about 1958 to ask him how he got into radio, but he never wrote back.
I always meant to write back.
So I was one of the few genuinely English people who was being an English person on a radio station. Most of the others called themselves James Bond and claimed to be Ringo's cousin. Why, poor Ringo, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you something.
So when the Beatles came along, I kind of capitalised on this naivety, and I didn't say that I knew the Beatles. I certainly didn't claim to be related to them, but then I didn't say that I didn't know them either, if you see what I mean.
Can you imagine having your own letter or message personally delivered to Paul, Ringo, George or John? This is John Ravencroft, the newest member of the KOMA Good Guys, and I will be able to deliver your messages to the Beatles in Minneapolis on Saturday when I attend their press conference and show. I will report directly to you from Minneapolis on KOMA. On Monday night, I'll be with Bobby Davis and Kay to tell you all about my recent month-long holiday in my hometown of Liverpool and to play you many exclusive records from the English Hit Parade. If you have a message for the Beatles, please send it to me, John Ravencroft, in care of KOMA, Box 1520, Oklahoma City. And stay tuned to hear of the Beatles' reactions to your letters. Cheerio till Monday.
I'd married in Texas, or in Oklahoma. I mean, I'd married a girl I knew from Texas, and we got married when I was working in Oklahoma. And she was very young, and I was very stupid, and it didn't work out really. and she thought that I was seeing other women, which I wasn't, but she would always, if any girl got in touch with me through the radio station, she'd go around and see their parents and cause trouble, you know. I've got a letter somewhere from the boss of the radio station firing me because said, you know, it's nothing personal, but your wife's causing us so much trouble. And they rehired me, but it all, you know, just became I would say anything for a quiet life, me, really, and I can't bear confrontation, and I was getting plenty of that. So decided to come back home.
This is wonderful Radio London, where you're hearing things, where you're hearing things.
Story which somebody sent me from one of the daily newspapers, I have no idea which one. It's about self-confessed beatnik, which whatever that means. Robert Basser became a tramp because he wanted nothing more to do with people. He gave all his affection to his one inseparable companion, a white mouse called Mickey. He's all I've got, 29-year-old Basser often said. And last night he showed that he meant it. He gave his life trying to save the mouse. He was standing by the parapet of the St. Michael Bridge here, combing out the mouse when it fell into the Seine. And Robert dived in to save his pet, but he couldn't swim, and both he and Mickey were drowned. And his father said that mouse was the only thing he cared for. So there you are, see, there's someone. Mickey, Robert rather, could have been a lot happier, and Mickey too, if they'd been able to find something like the perfumed garden, you know, because it's communication, and then he would have known that there are lots of other people who actively care, even if they don't know him.
They'd asked me what I wanted to call myself. I said, well, how about Helen Llewellyn Product 19? And they kind of looked at me and they thought, not entirely sure about that. And then there was a woman typing there and sort of like listening to this conversation. She said, why don't you call him John Peel? Well, that's, I became John Peel. I just completely did away with the format. I didn't run the news, didn't run any of the ads, didn't do the weather, and just started playing all these LPs and stuff that I'd got. You know, some things I'd bought back from America, mainly things which I'd bought from One Stop Records in South Moulton Street, which alas no longer exists, which was like the killer record shop. And I used to read other people's poetry fantastically badly, and talk a lot about mice and fairies and, you know, just general hippie stuff. The programme became very popular in a very short period of time, but then the radio station was closed down by the Marine Offences legislation of 1960, and we all had to apply for jobs at Radio 1. Hello, pal. You looking for Tony?
No, you actually. I'm trying to find a band.
Called?
Dragon Teeth.
There's no such band.
They were around in the 80s. I was with the lead singer last night.
Well, you can look under the D's if you like, but there's no such band, I'm telling you. Are you up to speed, as they say in TV?
That's all John is for you.
What I'm doing here is, weeks after it arrived in the house, sorting out the script for my first film appearance. 5 Seconds to Spare, based on the novel The Dwarves of Death. I'm not absolutely certain what my role is, but I'm sure it's a very important one within the context of the film. And I've got about, when I counted them before, I've not checked them since I was given all of this stuff to add to it. I had 18 words, I think, one of them being shit. Unfortunately, so far, that's the only one that I've memorised. What's up?
Jarvis has pulled out tonight's session.
Oh, shit. I quite like the idea that when I'm in the Stowmarket home for the bewildered, this comes up on TV, on Channel 4, I expect. I should be able to sit there and say to all the other old dears who can't remember their own names, look, my old films are coming around again. Right, total 50 words in total, that's all I've got. So, will I master it? Will you see me? I'll probably end up on the cutting room floor.